A $3,000 hearing aid and a $300 hearing aid can now share the same basic ingredients: directional microphones, digital sound chips, feedback control, and app-based tuning. So why does one cost 10 times more? In this teardown, we are testing 5 cheap hearing aids against the features that used to define premium models. The biggest surprise is not the most expensive option, and one bargain model hides a trade-off most buyers never notice until they wear it in noise. For decades, buying a hearing aid was not like buying headphones. You usually started in a clinic, took a hearing test, received a prescription-style fitting, and paid one bundled price that covered the device, the software programming, follow-up visits, cleanings, adjustments, and the provider's time. That model made sense for many people, especially anyone with complex or severe hearing loss. But it also hid the actual hardware cost. A tiny device with microphones, a processor, a receiver, and a battery could be priced in the thousands because the service package and the medical distribution system were built into the sale. Manufacturers also protected their ecosystem. Many premium hearing aids required proprietary fitting software, locked programming tools, and trained providers to make changes. That kept quality control high, but it also kept competition limited. The shift came when over-the-counter hearing aids became legal for adults with perceived mild to moderate hearing loss. Suddenly, companies could sell directly to consumers, use phone apps for hearing checks, and let buyers adjust sound profiles at home. That does not make a cheap hearing aid equal to a clinic-fitted one. You may lose expert tuning, stronger repair support, advanced customization, or proper care for more serious hearing loss. But the pricing model changed. So the real question is, which low-cost devices actually inherited technology that used to belong only to premium hearing aids? Number 5, Audien Atom Pro 2, the ultra-cheap reality check. This is the budget floor of the list. Audien-style devices are appealing because they are tiny, rechargeable, easy to wear, and priced far below anything sold through a clinic. For someone who has never tried hearing help before, that low entry cost is the whole point. Inside, you should expect a simple hearing amplifier, not a miniature audiology clinic. The Atom Pro 2 likely relies on basic digital sound processing, a small microphone, a receiver, rechargeable batteries, and preset listening modes. Those modes can change the sound for different situations, but they are not the same as a full hearing test mapped across individual frequencies. The useful features are practical ones. Rechargeability removes the hassle of tiny disposable batteries. The charging case makes storage easier. Basic feedback control can reduce that sharp whistling sound when the device is inserted or turned up too high. This kind of device can help with television, one-on-one conversations at home, or occasional support in quieter rooms. It is a low-risk first step for someone who mainly wants more volume and clearer speech nearby. The trade-off is precision. Cheap amplification can make sound louder, but it may not make sound natural. The next jump happens when the hearing aid starts using self-fitting software, because that is where budget devices begin to feel closer to premium models. Number 4, Lexi B2 Plus powered by Bose, the consumer audio advantage. This is where the list starts to feel less like cheap amplification and more like consumer electronics. The Bose name matters because Bose spent decades tuning sound for normal people, not just for test booths. That influence shows up in the Lexi B2 Plus through simple controls, app-guided setup, and a sound profile built around clarity instead of complexity. The device is self-fitting, so the app walks you through adjustments without requiring a traditional clinic appointment. You can change settings for different environments, raise or lower bass and treble, and fine-tune the balance between your left and right ears. That kind of control is what makes an over-the-counter hearing aid feel more personal. The hardware also checks several premium boxes. It is rechargeable, uses directional microphones to focus more on speech in front of you, and includes background noise handling for restaurants, errands, or group conversations. It is not magic in a loud room, but it gives you tools instead of one fixed volume knob. The best fit is an active adult who wants clearer speech, phone-based control, and less friction than scheduling an audiology visit. The caveat is design. Great tuning does not make a hearing aid disappear, and the next model is built for people who care more about discretion. Number 3, Sony CREC10 and CREE10, the tiny tech partnership. Sony did not just put its logo on a basic amplifier. These over-the-counter hearing aids were developed with hearing aid technology partners which is why they feel closer to medical hearing devices than to cheap earbuds with volume boost. The CREC10 is the discreet option. It sits deep in the ear, uses tiny replaceable batteries, and is built for people who want hearing help without a visible device behind the ear. The CREET-N is the more tech-forward version. With a rechargeable case and Bluetooth streaming for compatible phones, that makes the two models feel like different answers to the same question. Do you want invisibility or do you want convenience? The expensive part is not just the size. Sony's app runs you through a guided setup that acts like a simplified hearing test, then adjusts the sound to your profile. From there, the aids automatically process speech and background noise, instead of making you manage every situation with one volume control. These are best for mild to moderate hearing loss, especially if you want a polished app experience in a very small form factor. The trade-off is that the support still leans heavily on self-fitting, and that is where the next device gets interesting, because it adds something many cheap hearing aids skip: real human help after you buy. Number 2, Jabra Enhanced Select, premium DNA without the clinic price. Jabra is not coming at hearing aids from nowhere. The brand sits under GN, the same parent company behind ReSound, one of the major traditional hearing aid manufacturers. That matters because Jabra Enhanced Select is not just an earbud company trying to make voices louder. It is a direct-to-consumer version of technology, built by a company that already understands hearing loss. The feature list feels closer to clinic devices than basic over-the-counter amplifiers. Depending on the model, you can get rechargeable batteries, Bluetooth streaming, directional microphones, speech enhancement, and noise reduction that tries to separate voices from background sound. The companion app lets you adjust settings without tiny buttons or a screwdriver. The bigger difference is support. Jabra sells packages that can include remote hearing care, follow-up adjustments, and access to hearing professionals after purchase. That helps solve one of the biggest problems with cheap hearing aids. You may buy the hardware, but still have no idea if it is tuned correctly. These are best for someone who wants a recognizable hearing aid design, modern features, and more guidance than a pure self-fitting device. You still are not getting the full in-person clinic process, but you are getting a bridge between online convenience and professional care. Next, the price changes for a different reason. Some people pay extra just so nobody can see the hearing aid at all. Number 1, Eargo, the invisible design that feels expensive. Eargo stands out because it attacks the biggest emotional barrier first: visibility. These are tiny in-canal hearing aids designed to sit deep enough that most people will not notice them in normal conversation. For someone who is delayed buying hearing aids because they picture bulky devices behind the ear, that design alone can feel like a premium upgrade. Inside, Argo uses small microphones, sound processing, feedback reduction, and listening programs built for common environments. Depending on the model, adjustments can happen automatically or through an app, so you are not constantly pulling the device out to change settings. The rechargeable case also matters. You drop the devices in at night, close the lid, and avoid handling tiny disposable batteries. The reason Argo can feel like a $3,000 product is not that it beats every clinic hearing aid on raw power. It feels expensive because the experience is polished, the fit is discreet, the case is simple, the controls are modern, and the whole product is built for people who want help hearing without looking like they are wearing medical equipment. And that is the real pattern across this list. The bargain is not one magic brand. It is the same stack of smaller chips, microphones, rechargeable batteries, apps, and noise management that used to live only in much more expensive hearing aids. So what is actually inside these cheaper hearing aids that makes them sound surprisingly close to premium models? First, the microphones. Most modern devices use tiny directional microphones that try to prioritize sound from in front of you, especially speech. That is why a budget pair can feel clear in a quiet room or across a dinner table, even if it struggles more in a crowded restaurant. Second, the processing chip. This is the brain of the hearing aid. It splits incoming sound into frequency bands, boosts the areas where your hearing is weaker, and compresses loud sounds so they do not become painful. Expensive clinic models usually have more adjustment channels, but cheaper devices now have enough processing power to make mild and moderate hearing loss feel much better. Then you have feedback cancellation. That high-pitched whistle people associate with old hearing aids is now controlled by software that detects the squeal and shuts it down before it grows. Noise reduction does something similar with steady background sounds like fans, traffic, or air conditioning. The receiver is the tiny speaker that sends the processed sound into your ear, and its quality matters. A weak receiver can make voices thin or harsh. A better one gives speech more body. Finally, rechargeable batteries and charging cases changed the daily experience. Less fiddling, fewer battery doors, and more consistency. Add an app with hearing checks and adjustable profiles, and you get the main reason these devices can imitate a much more expensive fitting. So the smart buyer's rule is simple. Use the return window like a test drive. Confirm you are eligible for over-the-counter hearing aids. And do not ignore sudden, severe, one-sided hearing loss, pain, or dizziness. See a hearing professional for those. Thanks for watching. Comment which model you want compared next. And subscribe for more hearing aid teardowns.